Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Wicked, number 2 would be Moana 2, number 3 would be Gladiator 2, number 4 would be Red 1, and number 5 would be Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin. And look, I got 2 out of 5 of my predictions right for this weekend. Totally wrong across the board. A lot of you got closer than I did, but didn't quite make it. These people here did get their predictions right, so congratulations to you, obviously. I completely underestimated how well a Moana 2 would do. I'm not even sure why that is. I think for whatever reason, just me being chronically online, knowing about Moana 2's troubled kind of shift from TV to movie, last minute shift, kind of a rush to a finish line kind of production cycle. I feel like that let me influence how I thought it was going to do. And obviously it did a little better than that. Actually, this Thanksgiving, the 5-day Thanksgiving weekend here, is one of the best ever. All of the films here for the Thanksgiving weekend combine their grosses for this. That adds to $422 million, which is the best ever for a Thanksgiving weekend, topping the previous winner. That would be 2018's $315 million. I believe at that time it was Ralph Breaks the Internet or Creed 2, and I think maybe that Illumination Grinch was still out and about somewhere, and Fantastic Beasts on the side, stuff like that. So yeah, this year, being able to achieve such a box office milestone is pretty sensational, and you have so many movies here that are doing very well, starting with, of course, our number 1, Moana 2. Like I said, I really underestimated how well this was going to do, and I'm not even really sure why. Yes, Wicked, we'll talk about Wicked in a second, that one is still steamrolling, right? But this one, like I even said in my review, the popularity, has continued to grow ever since it came out. It's one of the most watched Disney movies on Disney Plus. So naturally, of course, it's going to be a high earner. I don't know why I missed the mark on this prediction completely. For the 3-day weekend, it made $135 million, but for the overall, because it opened up on Tuesday, Wednesday, for the overall gross, it is sitting at $221 million domestically right now, and then worldwide it is sitting at $386 million, and with an initial production budget, as far as I know, of $150 million, they have already doubled that, and they are about $64 million away from getting to the triple point. So yeah, they are already off to the races, off to a fantastic start. This can only mean great things for Disney outsourcing productions to other studios outside of the U.S. to minimize their budgets and deny certain people's jobs and maybe crunch other artists to get it on time because of different working environments and labor laws and blah 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 blah. That nobody wants to talk about that. Everyone just wants to talk about how awesome everything is. So let's just skip right on over that. As far as the opening weekend, though, this is $99 million over the first film's 3-day opening weekend, and it is also $5 million over Frozen 2's, which means this is the highest 3-day opening ever for Disney Animation Studios. That is insane. Like I said, I completely underestimated. I don't know if I could have predicted it would do Frozen 2 numbers, but I mean, I didn't expect Inside Out 2 to become one of Pixar's highest grossing films, but here we are. It's just the year that Pixar and Disney sequels really surprised me as far as how well they do, with the fan base growing in the year since they've come out. Crazy, you know what I mean? And also, it is the best 5-day opening ever for Thanksgiving. I know we mentioned the, every movie, but specifically Moana 2, it is the best 5-day opening for Thanksgiving. And it is also the second biggest worldwide debut of this year of 2024. It's just behind Deadpool and Wolverine. But yeah, remember last weekend when I said, the top 3 highest opening weekends for the year, it looks like it's just it's just Wicked, Deadpool, and the other one, whichever, Inside Out 2. And now, Moana 2 is squeaked right in there. And once again, I can't believe I did not expect it to be this much of a hit. Oops, my bad. Domestically, it is $4 million over the original Aladdin, $1 million away from Big Hero 6. But once it does that, it will already be in the top 5 highest grossing Disney animation films ever. And the fact that it's jumped up that high already is pretty absurd. And then you have worldwide, it's not in the top 5 yet, but it's 58 million over Bolt, 52 million away from the original Beauty and the Beast. Right now it's only at the number 12 spot. It's just already leapfrogged over so many other movies. Like, if I were to list every single movie it's outgrossed out, we'd be here forever. Usually I like to try to list all the ones it's going by, but in this case, my entire page of notes here would be full of just Moana 2 has outgrossed this one, and also this one, and also this one. As far as the year 2024, domestically, it has outgrossed Godzilla and Kong by 25 million. It's sitting behind Wicked by 41 million, and we know that one is still growing, so we'll see how they go back and forth. But right now it is the 8th highest grossing domestic run of the year so far. And then for the worldwide numbers, it has outgrossed Twisters by 17 million. It's sitting behind Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes by 11 million, so it's number 15 there. Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? Like, that is absurd. Moana 2 really gave like these box office numbers like a bit of a kickstart, like, I mean, Glicked was last weekend and, big numbers all around, but then you have Moana 2 just, coming in with another big number. And we'll get to the rest of the films, but like I've already said, all around they've grossed 422 million. Moana 2 really did give, audience members, theaters like a kickstart as far as like like a buddy and I saw Gladiator 2 on Saturday, and good thing we got there like well early in advance, because the line for the concession stand was almost out the door. Just the way that theater was structured, it was like almost, outside pretty much. And that was crazy to see. It was great to see because, business is booming in the theaters, and that's awesome. When the theaters are doing well, especially in concessions, that's a great sign. Theater tickets are one thing, but, concession stands are where a lot of theaters make their money. So, seeing that place popping was pretty great. It was really cool to see. And obviously, you had people that were going to see Wicked again or for the first time because they heard so much about it. There are a lot of people in our Gladiator screening, so people were interested to see that. And then of course Moana 2 was, the new one, and a lot of kids were there to see that and really excited. And it's just, great to see. I just wish that all of, this great, record-breaking stuff was for a better film with maybe a more inspiring, ethical production cycle. But, let's put that aside. No one wants to talk about that. Let's move on to number 2, which is Wicked. It held in the 20s as far as its percentage drop-off. It really, people are really stoked about this. Like I thought, it made 80 million this weekend, which now adds to a domestic total of $262 million. So for domestic musical runs, like I said, like it's just leapfrogged over so many. We'd be here forever if I listed all of them. But currently it has outgrossed Wonka from last year by 44 million. It's 8 million away from Sing, Illumination's musical Sing. It is the 6th highest grossing just musical in general film of all time, but it is also the highest grossing Broadway adaptation of all time, definitively, domestically. So yeah, like I was saying last week, and it's just going to plow through so many of these other movies, and here we are now, it's already at the top. Oh man, for the year 2024 as well, going back to this, it's outgrossed Godzilla and Kong by 66 million, and we talked about how it's, Moana 2 is right behind it. Right now, this one is sitting behind Twisters by 5 million, so right now it's number 7, but 5 million is an easy number to make. They're going to blast right through that. Worldwide for Wicked, it is sitting at 359 million, so they have doubled their 150 million initial production budget. Good on them. They are about 91 million away from tripling it, so good stuff. For musical worldwide list, it is 14 million over Mary Poppins Returns and 26 million away from outgrossing Happy Feet. Right now it's number 17 on that list. For the year 2024, it has outgrossed Alien Romulus by 9 million, and it is 10 million away from Twisters, so that is number 17 on there too. Number 17 for musicals, number 17 for worldwide list. How do you do? And Twisters is the one to beat, similar to the domestic list for 2024 as well. So, man, I know we were all talking about Glicked, but I really feel like Moana and Wicked, if these movies came out on the same date, these would be the ones that would make it the official Barbenheimer. But, with Moana 2 coming out technically a week later, does it really count as the double feature event? I mean, for some people, sure, but, Either way, though, these are very obviously benefiting from each other in a way that's very easy to see. Number 3 is Gladiator 2, which, this one held over pretty well as well. Made $30 million this weekend, which now adds to a domestic total of $111 million, and worldwide it is sitting at $320. So last weekend we talked about how the production budget, it's kind of confusing as far as like, is it actually like on target where they started with like $200 million, or did it balloon to $300 million? It is now sitting at a balance where they are over $300 million as far as its intake. So it's looking like they're in a bit more of a clearer spot. Of course, they need to double the $300 million to, for our show's standards, be considered a success. So they still have a ways to go till then. We're still kind of in a wait and see as far as like, is this movie, in the green or not? Obviously, it's benefiting from large audience members coming in, but is it actually going to profit? Like with Barbenheimer, both movies were talked about and well loved, and were both box office wise financially profitable. And Oppenheimer, it was easier because that budget was only about $100 million, and they got to that doubling point pretty quickly because of the hype and the love surrounding that. Gladiator 2 is in a much rougher spot as far as where to start, but it's not impossible. You know what I mean? It's not impossible to get to that number. They just need to maintain a momentum. I'm still not sure. I know I said last week, and it's kind of like a wait and see, and I hate to say that we're probably going to have to keep doing that, but it's really unclear if this is really going to be okay at the end. I know Ridley Scott is already planning a third one, but I don't know if, as far as like how much money you pumped into this one, I mean, maybe you can minimize a Gladiator 3 budget just seeing how this one does, but you just might not be able to get the privilege of having a budget balloon to $300 million, allegedly. I know last week, and I said, like, I don't know, because he's such an efficient filmmaker, I don't know how he could let that happen. But, his cinematographer did come out recently and say, like, he's grown lazier, in the first Gladiator, there's only a couple, like, special effects shots, and in this one, there's thousands, and he leaves equipment lying around in the shots, and he just says we'll edit it out later. So maybe that's part of why. Maybe that's not everything, but if the rumor is to be believed that the budget ballooned, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I know some other people are like, well, that just makes him efficient, the fact that he can just like roll through it and just not care about the specificities like that. But also some people would be like, well, I mean, you could also just clean up the shot. You know what I mean? Like, people have hot takes about everything and are fighting about everything, and who fucking cares? The point is, though, just looking at this, we're still in kind of like a hold your breath kind of scenario as far as like how this one's going to do, which is why, like with Glicked last weekend, it's kind of like, yes, they released on the same day and everyone tried to make that happen. I put it in the title of my video for fun, but like I said, Moana 2 and Wicked are the ones that if they released on the same date, that would be the thing worth celebrating. And instead, Gladiator 2 is kind of like, it's benefiting kind of, and maybe not. Anyways, as far as the original, it is $76 million away from outgrossing that one domestically. Worldwide, it is $131 million away from outgrossing that one. For Ridley Scott's filmography, it did outgross Napoleon by $50 million domestically, Exodus and the first Alien by $46 million, and Alien Covenant by $37 million, Robin Hood with Russell Crowe by $6 million, and it's $3 million over Black Hawk Down. It's now sitting behind Prometheus by $15 million. Right now, it is the 6th highest grossing domestic run of his career. Once it outgrosses Prometheus, it is in the top 5. So even if it doesn't break even, quote unquote, it will still be one of his highest grossing films. So that's got to account for something, right? Worldwide, for Ridley Scott, it did outgross Alien Covenant there by $62 million. American Gangster, also with Denzel, by $53 million. Ooh, Denzel and Russell Crowe? Yeah, that's crazy. Sorry. Anyways, it also outgrossed Exodus by $52 million and now needs $2 million until it outgrosses Robin Hood, which also places it at the number 6 spot as far as his highest grossing worldwide run. So it's about to be in top 5 in both spots. Yeah, like I said, like whether it breaks even or not, it will be one of his highest grossing films if you just look at the numbers. Once you equate the budget and stuff, who knows? But you can write that down somewhere as far as like an achievement. It's in his top 5. I don't know. Let's move on to number 4, though, which is way more disastrous, obviously. It's Red One. and look, it only had a drop of about 2%. So it's like, it's still, like we were kind of saying, like as far as like they opened it up early enough, with people, flocking to see these other films. If they're too crowded, some people are like, maybe I should see something else instead. If they're not interested, there's always this one that might, sway some people. But, the budget is still $250 million allegedly, and they're still nowhere near that. But it did make $12 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $76 million. So for $7 Productions, it did outgross Skyscraper by $8 million. Now it's sitting behind The League of Super Pets by 17 million. So not making any huge waves there. Worldwide, it is sitting at 148 million. And once again, Super Pets is in the way. It needs 55 million until it outgrosses that one. So this one, I guess you could say this one is also catching a bit of like the, the wave of like the busy box office just by, happenstance, but it's still not enough to like push it in the green. Like with Gladiator 2, it's kind of like, who knows, because it might need 400 million to break even, but it might need 600 million and no one's quite sure. But with Red One, it's like, nah, it needs a lot, obviously. And it is nowhere near that. But, Dwayne Johnson, always the optimist, shared like a post, like an article saying like, The Rock had like 2 number 1 movies at the box office in the same month, which is a rare feat for any actor, blah, blah, blah. And it's, Moana 2, obviously, because he's in that again, and Red One. So it's like, he still, even with a huge ass flop like this, he still found a way to make this great box office success for Moana about himself and share another record he broke or something like that. It's like, wow, incredible. Congrats, Dwayne. Go piss in a bottle. Number 5 is the best Christmas pageant ever, actually getting a bit more of a boost. It was below Bonhoeffer and Venom last time we saw it, but some other people wanted to give this one a shot this weekend. Like I said, other people not interested in some of the bigger movies, they want to give something else a shot, and maybe this was the one that swayed them. Made 3.2 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 32 million, so it did outgross Zachary Levi's American Underdog by 6 million. It is now sitting behind Jesus Revolution by 20 million. Who knows if it has the momentum to get there, but that does make it Kingdom Story Company's second highest grossing domestic run of all time. So there you go. They open this movie early enough as well, where they're able to catch a bit more of a wave as we get a little bit closer to Christmas and Thanksgiving passes, and they're going to be way more profitable because they have now tripled their initial production budget of 10 million, whereas Red One, it's too much. Number 6 is Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin, making 2.4 million, adding to a domestic total of 9.7. I still don't know what the budget of this thing is, and it did not outgross After Death yet. It is still sitting behind that one, this time by 3 million. So it's inching closer. This one, it did this one with best Christmas pageant ever. Even though the number is low, you can tell it made a bit more waves just based off of it leapfrogged over Venom and Bonhoeffer this weekend compared to last weekend. In this case, Bonhoeffer, dipping, that it just shows like with all the good stuff happening for these other movies, whether they're flopping or not, they're still, having strongholds, whatever, they're the movies that people want to see though. Bonhoeffer is not one of them. Clearly. Number 7 is Venom: The Last Dance, making 2.2. So this and Bonhoeffer are actually pretty close. When official numbers come out, Venom might even overtake it, which might be even more pathetic for Angel Studios. But yeah, 2.2 million, adding to a domestic total of 137 million. It is now 76 million away from the original and Let There Be Carnage. Worldwide, it is sitting at 468 million. So about 33 million away from Let There Be Carnage. Now they have officially tripled their 120 million initial production budget, so they're not going to quadruple it and get to 580. The momentum's just not there, but they tripled it. So I don't know what else you want. Number 8 is Heretic, making 956,000. That's right, no more millions, the thousands. Adding to a domestic total of $26.8 million for A24. It did outgross The Witch and Ex Machina by 1 million, and it did outgross We Live in Time by 2 million. It's now sitting behind Midsummer and Moonlight by 1 million, but now it is officially in the top 10 highest grossing A24 films of all time. That's cool. That's really cool to see, especially after my blunder of saying it was already there a couple weeks ago. Whoops. Worldwide, it is sitting at 35.8, so for A24, it did outgrow Spring Breakers by 4 million and now needs 1 million until it outgrosses Room. It is not in the top 10 yet. It is number 15, but, the fact that it needs 1 million until it outgrosses the next film, and it'll probably only need about 2 million until it outgrosses the next one, a slow, steady climb is there for this film. I noticed that a lot with, A24 when I, look at the charts and everything, is that a lot of those numbers are pretty small and close together, and it's very easy for, if one movie makes $1 million, it can overtake about maybe 4 movies in a row that had similar grosses. It's kind of funny, and that's what Heretic's kind of doing right now, which is fun. And then number 9, we have The Wild Robot, making 670,000, adding to a domestic total of 142 million. No, it did not get to outgross Kung Fu Panda 3. Domestically, it is still behind that one, this time by 1 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 333 million. So it did outgross Megamind by 12 million. It is now sitting behind Trolls by 9 million. So there you go. Good stuff for The Wild Robot. not all around. I think it's about to leave here, but it did have a hell of a run. Finally, closing out the video, number 10, A Real Pain, making $665,000, adding to a domestic total of 6.1, worldwide 6.9. That's almost the sex number. If it wasn't for that goddamn decimal. You know what I mean? But, good that more people are checking this one out, and hopefully more people will closer to award season time, whether it be in the theaters or streaming online. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. I wanted to give a bit of a heads up at this part before we get to the predictions. This Thursday, I am getting my drum roll, please, my wisdom teeth taken out. So hopefully, they said about 3 days, including the surgery day. So hopefully that Sunday I am feeling better to do a box office video. Maybe I'll have some time to do another review before Thursday rolls around. But if box office talk is delayed, no, it's probably because of wisdom teeth stuff. Hopefully I am all good though, and I will see you then. So let's just dive into the predictions. This was tough because I think a lot of it is going to stay the same. Number 1, I think, will be Moana 2 once again. Number 2, Wicked again. 3, Gladiator 2 again. 4, Red One again. I don't really see any big shifts. So number 5 was interesting because I genuinely don't think Best Christmas Pageant Ever has big enough numbers to guarantee that spot again, but I don't know of the new films what's taking its place. I know the Leve live show performance movie is only on a couple days. That's very, very select few times, and people are filling up those seats as far as like my Fandango stuff, but it's only like in one theater. It's kind of hard to tell as far as like what that translates to a weekend. Y2K, the theaters that I saw it's playing in are very small and they're not filling up. It is another A24 movie where they've marketed it technically, but it's not like it's widespread, highly anticipated. I'm looking forward to it, but it's just not, it's not Moana 2 or even Heretic, I guess. So I don't know if that'll get into the top 5. I'd love it to if it's good. So I think, just judging by how much hype apparently is surrounding re-releases, and especially this one, and checking the seats on Fandango, it does look like it's selling out. I think number 5 could and maybe will be the Interstellar 10-year anniversary IMAX re-release, just because it seems like compared to the Leve IMAX stuff, it's playing in a couple more times, at least for my theaters, and it looks like it's selling out a lot more, like big crowds. So this could be number 5, considering the low numbers of Best Christmas Pageant Ever and the ones below it, don't really equate. But we will see, though. Honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen. Anyways, what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.